What's going on, everyone? Talon here, and welcome to another account progression video. Alright, so it's time to get another tier 2, and we're going to be ranking up Ancient One today. Alright, so the reason that I'm going to be getting Ancient One to tier 2 is just because of his passive. I want that... Where are you? There we go. So I want that apply to all allies, ignore target dodge rating by 25%. So I really want that ignore dodge for World Boss Ultimate. I do use Ancient One for leadership sometimes, not always, because I end up just using She-Hulk right now. But that extra 25% dodge I think is going to be worth the damage reduction in leadership, because I tend to have to use a lot of ignore dodge strikers, so I do see a pretty big difference every time that I add a dodge ignore striker in my damage output. So I'm really hoping that this is going to help me out in some of the later phases in World Boss Ultimate, because I'm having a difficulty on a few of like the phase 3s and phase 4s, and I'm like pretty close to being able to get through it, but not quite there, so I need a little extra boost, and I'm hoping this ignore dodge is going to be the key for it. And also, if it happens to be a stage that I can use Jean Grey in, of course that 25% extra fire damage for her is going to be very nice, and that's all elements, so not just fire of course, but it'll increase her fire damage, which should be really nice. So anyway, let's go ahead and take a look at Ancient One before I tier 2 him. So we have his third skill, the Ancient Cure, maxed out so that we can get the decrease in buff duration and all buff effects by 45% and duration by 40% for enemies. So that's maxed out there at 40 and 45%. And then for the fourth skill here, of course, we have this leveled up for the increase 75% invisibility for 5 seconds, and then it also increases the Summoner's Illusion stats by 85%. I think that only starts off at like 30% or something like that, and it goes up from there. And then of course we have this maxed out for the HP recovery. So that's his skills. For his gear, I haven't really done too much with Ancient One. He's still at Ignore Defense. His Isoweight set is just Stark Backing because I have him built defensively right now. I mainly use him in Shadowlands, and having all of this extra healing helps keep him alive if I use him in Rumbles. And also that's kind of why I have this particular obelisk on him, the immune to stun and snare, just so he can survive longer in Shadowlands and be able to get off his healing circle and stuff like that. So I haven't really invested or done too much with Ancient One, so pretty much, like I said, the only reason I'm going to be tier 2ing him is for World Boss Ultimate. Of course it's going to help his stats overall. They have him at tier 2, so he should be a little better in Shadowland for me. Maybe he can start soloing some of the stages instead of just having him as leadership and then support. But anyway, let's go ahead and get to the tier 2ing. So we have enough to tier 2 him naturally, so that's what we are going to do. So let's go ahead and advance him here. Alright, there we go. So we have Ancient One at tier 2 now, so we have Ancient Harmony. And of course, I already read this off. This is the reason I'm tier 2ing him for all allies. So now let's go ahead and back out here. So we have Teacher of the Mystic Arts, very nice. So now let's try him out a little bit now that we have him at tier 2. Okay, so we're going to be doing a base run here to get kind of a baseline for how long it takes Jean to beat Ebony in the first phase. So we're going to be using, of course, Ancient One leadership, and we're going to have Coulson for his passive, and then of course Jean Grey is going to be our main DPSer here, and we're going to be doing this before we tier 2 Ancient One just to see the difference. So we're going to go ahead and try this out, and I probably could do a run with She-Hulk as leadership to kind of see the difference in that as well, but I might not do that for this particular video. I'll just have to wait and see. So here we go. It looks like I can see a lot of well, it says a lot of burn immunity, but I think I'm seeing quite a bit of dodge as well in there, and his health is definitely going down pretty slowly. So, well, at least, I mean, I normally do this phase with all strikers, so that's probably one of the reasons why his health is going down a lot slower. But let's go ahead and let this play out and see how long it takes her to clear this. Alright, so that definitely took quite a while, or it should be over in a second here. Took quite a while to clear. So, I mean, he did do a lot of his iframes, though, where he's underground doing those shadow strikes. See those with the claws or whatever? So that was definitely eating up a lot of time, but it did take her almost the whole duration of the fight. So now we're going to go ahead and get around to Tier 2ing Ancient One and see how much better her time is. Okay, so here we are back at Ebony Maw for the Phase 1 again, but this time we have Tier 2 Ancient One, so let's go ahead and see what kind of difference that makes. So we're going to keep it exactly the same, of course, and have no strikers. So let's see if Jean is able to get through this a little faster and maybe a little more efficiently. So the damage is already looking a lot better. Alright, so that was definitely a lot better than our previous run there. So 1 minute and 32 seconds, so geez, that's like about a minute difference. I do know that, of course, in the first run we had Ebony doing a lot of his Shadow Strike, or whatever the name of that skill is, where he's in an iframe and just does those strikes with the shadow-looking claws and stuff like that. So that definitely ate up a lot of the time in the first attempt, but I definitely saw a very, very noticeable difference in the damage and just, yeah, the overall damage, and he wasn't dodging anything, or dodging as much, so that's why the damage was higher, of course. Of course, the fire damage increase as well from the Tier 2 is nice. So definitely worth the Tier 2, for me at least, in bringing up Ancient One. But he's pretty much just going to be a utility character, so you definitely don't really need to rank up Ancient One to Tier 2 unless you already probably have a pretty well-built roster, and you're also trying to do World Boss Ultimate, of course, because that is probably the place that he shines the most, because he does have a strong leadership, and then of course with his passive makes him even better for World Boss Ultimate here. So yeah, that's pretty much going to be my thoughts on Ancient One. I would definitely just Tier 2 him for World Boss Ultimate if you have the extra resources to do so, and I'm quite happy with the results. So yeah, that's going to do it for this video. I hope you enjoyed, and of course I will catch you in the next one.